what happens after we die? I mean, it's the question, right? It's something people have wondered about forever. So today, we're going to dive into the Islamic tradition's answer, a really detailed and fascinating roadmap of the soul's journey. And this quote, it really sets the stage perfectly. Be in this world as if you are a stranger or a traveler. Think about that. It completely reframes how we see our lives. We're not at home here, we're just passing through on the way to where we're really going.
Okay, so if life is a journey, then what's the point of it all? That's our first stop, figuring out what this life is actually for.
Well, in Islam, this life we're living right now, it's called hayat al-dunya, is basically seen as a test. It's a period of trial, almost like an entrance exam for whatever comes next. The Quran actually calls it play and distraction when you compare it to the real deal, the hereafter. So it's the bridge you cross, not the place you're trying to get to.
And this is absolutely crucial. Death is not a full stop. It's not game over. It's more like turning the page to the next chapter. Islam sees it as a transfer, a transition from one state of existence to another. And when you think about it like that, it really changes everything. It's less about a scary, unknown end and more about a clear next step in the journey. So let's zoom in on that moment of transition itself. In Arabic, it's known as Sakarat al-Maut, which translates to the pangs or the struggles of death. This is where the journey really kicks off. And what's described here is, well, it's a tale of two very different experiences. For a believer, a righteous person, the soul is said to leave the body gently, as smoothly as water pouring from a cup. But for a wrongdoer, it's the complete opposite. It's described as being ripped out, harshly and forcibly. You know, you can almost think of this in modern terms, like a system shutdown. And it's wild how there are parallels with what science observes. Medically, the brain sometimes has this final surge of activity. And get this, hearing is believed to be the absolute last sense to fade. That lines up perfectly with Islamic teachings that say the deceased can actually hear the footsteps of their family as they walk away from the grave. All right, so once the soul has left the body, it enters a whole new phase. This is the intermediate state, a kind of in-between realm known as the Barzakh. The word Barzakh itself literally means barrier, and that's what it is, a barrier or an intermediate world between our life here and the final day of resurrection. The key thing is, the soul is conscious there. It's experiencing a whole new reality, waiting for what's next. And just like with the soul's departure, the experience in this state is one of two complete opposites. For the righteous person, the grave is said to become like a garden from the gardens of paradise. It's a beautiful, wonderful preview. But for the wrongdoer, it becomes a pit from the pits of hellfire, a terrifying preview of what's to come. Now, during this time, two angels are said to visit and ask three absolutely pivotal questions. Who is your Lord? What is your religion? And who is your prophet? Sounds simple, right? Like you could just memorize the answers, but there's a twist. See, these aren't answers you can cram for. They aren't spoken with your tongue. They're answered by your entire being. It's a reflection of the operating system you were running your whole life. Who did you really worship? What was your actual way of life? Who was the person you truly followed? Here's a great way to think about it. It's like a system integrity check. You know how a computer checks its most important files when it boots up? These questions do the same thing for your soul. It's a spiritual diagnostic, checking your core loyalty, your worldview, your entire life's model. Okay, so after this period in the Barzakh is over, the journey moves into its most epic cosmic phase. We're talking about the end of the entire universe, a great reset for all of creation. This is described as happening in two major stages. First, a great trumpet is blown, and at that sound, every single living thing will die. The universe as we know it is just reset. Then, after some time passes, a second trumpet is blown, and this time it signals the physical resurrection of every single human being who has ever lived. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Physical resurrection sounds pretty out there, but let's use another tech analogy, reconstructing from a backup. I mean, today we can store a person's entire DNA sequence. We can create 3D scans of bodies. We're even trying to map neural patterns. So if we, as humans, can even think about doing that, imagine how easy it is for the Creator who made us from scratch in the first place. So once everyone is resurrected, all of humanity is gathered in one place for the final, ultimate accounting.
This is the day of Hisāb, the day of reckoning, where every single thing you ever did is brought out into the open.
On this day, every person gets their book of deeds, a complete record of their entire life. And how you receive it is everything. If you get it in your right hand, that's a sign of success, of salvation. But if you get it in your left hand, that's a sign of failure and doom. And the level of detail in this book is just perfect. It's absolute. The Quran describes people looking at their book and saying, "What is with this book? It leaves out nothing, small or great, but has recorded it." Nothing is missed, not even the smallest, most insignificant seeming action.
Again, we can think of this in today's terms. It's like your lifetime's log files. Think of a computer system log or an airplane's black box recorder, or even just your own digital footprint online. Now imagine a version of that is absolutely perfect, totally complete, and 100% uneditable. That's the Book of Deeds.
So, after the accounting is done, after all the deeds are weighed on the scales, humanity is split into two groups, headed for one of two final, eternal destinations. On one side, you have paradise, or Jannah. This is an eternal home where there's no more death, no sadness, just joy, reunions, and pleasures we can't even begin to imagine. And on the other, there's Hellfire, or Jahannam. This is described as a realm of pure justice. For some, it's a place of purification, and for others who rejected goodness entirely, it's a final punishment.
You know, what's really fascinating is when you step back and see how some of these ancient ideas seem to, well, converge with things we're exploring today in science. Astrophysics tells us the universe had a beginning, the Big Bang, and it will have an end, which sounds a lot like creation and the final trumpet. Neuroscientists are studying near-death experiences that sound eerily similar to descriptions of the soul's journey. And our whole obsession with AI and digital immortality, it really just reflects that deep human longing for an eternal existence, something faith has been talking about for centuries.
So after all that, what does it mean for us right here, right now? Well, here's maybe the simplest way to look at it. This world, it's the training simulation. It's the tutorial level. But the afterlife, that's the real game.
And that really brings us full circle. Thinking about all this isn't meant to be dark or depressing. It's meant to be smart. The Prophet Muhammad said that the truly intelligent person is the one who prepares for what comes after death. It's about living with the end in mind.
Because whether we think about it or not, our journey has already started. We're on that path right now. So the only real question left, the one we all have to ask ourselves, is, are you packed?